We have a Giant TCR Advanced SL in a size medium. So coming off the back of that Colnago video and lots of other videos I've had recently, it's awesome to see this in the stand, mostly because it has blown me away by the very high quality of this frame, which is different because if you follow this channel, you've probably seen some Giant frames, which I definitely would not have said that about, but this thing is stunning. Let's get into it. Giant Advanced SL, this is a size ML, so medium large. It has the seat post pretty much on it, and we are at 880 grams. That's with the front mech and rear mech hanger. So this one actually has the seat post where you need to cut this down, so a little bit inconvenient, but it does save quite a lot of weight in the overall system. Skinny little stays, and the brake mounts down here are all relatively flat to the frame. There's very little material here to work with. This always makes me nervous actually, because when you take a mount adapter, I can feel there's a little rock to those. I think we can remove that with a ceramic knife. I'll show you in a second. But look at this, all of that has been perfectly masked off. Insides here have all been perfectly masked off as well. And the bottom bracket is an absolute thing of beauty. BB86, so press fit 41, smooth as a smooth thing. In fact, the whole inside of the frame is super smooth. I think this has been done with the polystyrene mold that they then melt out with acetone, because it is so smooth. There's not a single bit of tent ridging in there at all. I'll put the borescope on there and show you in a second. Look at this, the bearing seats are absolutely perfect. The paintwork on it as well looks absolutely lovely. It's kind of got this weird sort of marbling effect and a decent clear coat on there as well. I'm so impressed. And then here is the fork. Now the fork, this is what I mean, I love attention to detail. When you're buying a premium frame set, attention to detail is everything. So this has a molded carbon skewer. Now it's probably heavier than not having a skewer at all, but it is just one of those Allen key ones. You can remove this and put this in your back pocket if you really want to. So that's pretty cool. We'll get some scales on that in a second, but this is the fork quality. Those threads are perfectly clean, and this is very easy to screw in. Look at that. Dropouts look great. Probably a little bit of paint just there. These brake mounts are a little bit off. Look, we can just see a little gap just there. That's a shame. That can do with a little bit of facing. Yeah, that's a shame that the front mounts aren't particularly great. It's a D-shaped steerer, but they have actually got the exit hole in the centre. So if here in the UK, you can run your brakes either side. You're not having to force the brake cable around another area. And probably just enough material, or just enough of a gap rather, to run your two brake hoses up. And a consistent wall thickness, which again, we don't always see on every Giant bike. It's beautiful, to be fair, apart from those front brake mounts, which I think we'll be able to sort out pretty easily. You're going to ask me, like, where do I rank it in quality levels? So it's significantly better than almost every other Giant in their range. If you've seen like the next one down, the Advanced, I can't remember how it is, definitely nowhere near as good. This is an absolute step above. It's definitely better than the Look 785, that's their mid-tier. Still probably not a patch on the 795. There's a few little attention to detail things where that definitely is higher. Very different to a Time. You can't really compare the whole resin transfer molding compared to this style of engineering is all very different. It's a very different way of manufacturing. Probably not as precise. There's more finishing going on here. But compared to that Colnago and stuff we had recently, this is streaks ahead. I think this is only retailing for like £3,500. Sure, you don't get the handlebar. You only get a frame, fork and somewhat of a seat post. So far, very good. Okay, let's explore this idea a little bit more. In the video, I gave this bike a score of 5 out of 10 and called it awesome. I consider this to be a benchmark bike from benchmark brand, and I think it's what you should expect a mainstream brand's best effort to be. By that argument, you would expect a premium brand that asks for more money to be significantly better, and you'd expect a budget brand to make some sort of compromises. Now those compromises should be in things like paint finish, less high modulus carbon fibre, the fit and finishings could be cheaper, i.e. we're using steel bolts, those sort of things that gradually eke the price down. Fit and finish should still be perfect across the board. So if this is a 5 out of 10, what would a 10 out of 10 be like? Well, in short, it should be absolutely perfect. Every single part of the bike should make you say wow the second that you put your hand on them. It should have really sensible design decisions that fit the brief of the white paper. So for example, a race frame like this should also have a nice narrow rear axle to allow the rider to have a very narrow Q factor. A gravel bike, for instance, should be fitted with the SRAM UDH to allow lots of variety in your gear ratios. Likewise, a racy frame should probably also have a bottom bracket that you can then fit a SRM or THM crankset and allow for a 30mm spindle. Those design decisions should be really clear in the actual product. And then it goes without saying that those chosen standards should be actioned to perfection. Everything should be in spec and absolutely perfect, and all the paint should be finished off so that someone can build it out of the box and get an absolutely perfect experience. It shouldn't require an amateur bike mechanic working at home to have specialist tools to finish their frame off, because all these brands are now selling direct on the internet. You can buy this frame and bypass the bike shop, and therefore you should be able to build it at home without any specialist tools. And of course, it goes without saying that the paintwork should be absolutely perfect. This is actually something that most brands do pretty well, but they just don't mask things off properly. And then of course, the fitting and fixings. These are things that really do get overlooked. We're talking about the headset bearing choice. This one comes with standard steel bearings. That Colnago V5 RS, thumbs up because it came with proper ceramic speed ones. Every now and then, things like the 51 Seeker, we see come with stainless steel bearings, massive thumbs up. And then things like the mech hanger, the front derailleur hanger, all the bottle cage mounts, the seat post clamps, all of those sort of things should be finished to absolute perfection and have fasteners, the titanium, the steel, or the stainless steel fasteners should be chosen appropriate to that bike's use. So for instance, the Giant TCR comes with titanium fixings. And then lastly, the absolute overall presentation. I think when you buy a really premium bike, you should be able to open that box and just get a fantastic experience from every single part that you touch. There should be a really good manual that talks you through exactly how the cable should be run. All the bolt torques that you need should be there presented in front of you. And generally speaking, you should just feel really proud to own something that has a 10 out of 10 rating. So with all that in mind, the bike that I think I could give the highest rating right now is probably this, the 51 Seeker. And I think I would give this an 8 out of 10. Its fixtures and fittings, its paintwork, etc. is perfect, but I'd mark that down on its presentation and manuals. There really isn't a product manual that talks you through everything. The website is still a little bit fuzzy. It could definitely be polished up, but it is £3,800, so an 8 out of 10 mark is extremely generous. Okay, so how would something like the Time Skylon score? I think I'd probably give the Time Skylon a 7 out of 10, based on the fact that you don't actually get as many fixtures and fittings in a Time bike. Their presentation, their manuals could still be improved. And also the fixtures and fittings on the new seat post could definitely be a little bit better. But when you're buying something like a Time, you're buying it for its indestructible Kevlar fork, and that's something where my scoring system hasn't really taken into account. What is apparent is that shit like this should never be seen with a premium logo, that's for sure, and that would definitely score pretty poorly. So with that all said, let's go back to the video and take a look at what the Giant TCR Advanced SL fixtures and fittings look like. So you have the seat post clamp. Interesting, it's like there's two different heights of seat post there, but these essentially slip on here. Not the lightest thing in the world, but that's okay. Also have a lightweight tube insulation as well. So sometimes you see these are actually quite a high density. This is a very low density foam, weigh next to nothing. You actually get a carbon bottle cage as well. So that's pretty cool. And then you've got your headset bearings. So these are MR137, so 45 degrees. Yeah, it's a little bit tighter than I would want actually. That is not a great fit actually. Shouldn't need to force these in. That's gonna need some work sadly. That's not cool. Yeah, that bottom one is perfect. That's how it should be. Just slot in, but then not wobble around. So we also get lots of slots of spacers, as you can imagine. Actually looks pretty generous on its spacers actually. So it's 5 and a bit worth of centimeters. So 5 centimeters worth of spacers, that's a lot. Little top cap, have a compression bung there. That all looks pretty cool. And we have a Garmin mount. And actually that's really pretty compared to that one that we saw from Colnago, which was just like Kinder Egg quality. This is what I'd expect to have seen from Colnago, to be fair. That's really nice, and it looks like it's got loads of different types in there for Wahoo, and it's even got a GoPro mount. It's going to fit directly onto the stem. That should look dead smart. And then everything else is just like stickers for frame protector. Interesting that they've got those actually, because this is a completely internally routed, but this looks like a generic frame protector sticker pack they've used. Seat clamp bolt there, the expander bolt that goes in there, and also we have loads and loads and loads of frame bung. So if you do want to run mechanical, you can do. So we have the brake ones here, so really generous aperture actually to allow the brake hoses to run. You can put these over the top. You have Di2 bungs, and we do actually have a complete blanking one as well. So if you are running SRAM access, there's a complete blanking hole as well. So, and a user manual. Now, it's very rare that the user manuals are actually usable. They're normally just safety nonsense. Yeah, this one's the same. So you normally have to go online and get the actual manual for the frame. So that's a bit of a shame. Yeah, there's not even a QR code to link you to the manual, but there we go. Right. Let's get some scales on all of this. Quick little component weigh-in then. So first of all, the compression bung. On closer inspection, this actually looks like a piece of folded steel. In fact, no, piece of folded aluminium. That's all aluminium actually. So should be relatively light. Still coming up as 40 grams though, so definitely on the heavy side. Through axles, again, I think these are going to be on the heavy side as well. Yeah, 78 grams, so definitely an easy place to get some weight save in there. So in a moment, I'll get all this loosely assembled and weighed, but first of all, I want to have a better inspection on the inside of this frame, because I think this is what's going to really blow your mind. It's just how clean this is in here. Okay, we are first of all going to have a look at the inside. This is the top tube. And really, I'm going to try and get a shot here of what it's like on the head tube. So remember the Colnago, we saw that sort of gridded type of pattern. This is the inside of that head tube. Very, very smooth. And then our down tube, and that's our riv nuts. So riv nuts don't look to have been treated in anything, not even got any grease on there, but actual tubing look very nice. Now, I'll have a quick look and see where the join is. In fact, this actually might be completely monocoque by the looks of it. Oh no, there you go, there's the join just there. Super smooth, super clean in there. This must be have done a like a polystyrene mold that you then melt out almost with acetone, so looks nice. Yeah, very, very impressive. Big test though, what is the bottom bracket bore? 40.95, 6, 7, yeah, 40.97. Nice. Again, that's 40.95, 6, 40.96. That's where that clicks. Okay, let's just do a very quick rough assembly and see what the actual build weight comes in. Now, one thing I'm impressed with, this is the compression ring here. So this is actually look like a very high quality. So I wouldn't say plastic, it almost looks like a molded, yeah, I'm not quite sure what that is to be honest, but it's solid. There we go, that is everything that comes in the box. You obviously bring your own handlebars to this one, and that's 1.47 without a set of handlebars. So for reference, the Colnago V5 RS was 1.9 something with a set of handlebars and probably 2 centimeters worth of spacers as well. So you've still got a fair bit of space in there to get yourself a decent handlebar. Now this is a £3,500 frame set, so significantly less. You should be able to find yourself a really, really good set of handlebars within that budget and probably still have a little bit of spending power for some decent wheels as well. So on the whole, generally very impressed. I'd like to do a bit of work on that top headset bearing. The rear brake mounts and the front brake mounts need a little bit of work, but the bottom bracket is very good. Love the paintwork. The actual construction looks very clean. The weight is pretty impressive. A couple of the finishing components, that compression bung could definitely do with being a little bit better. Titanium hardware. Look at that. Who would have thought it? In fact, just one small fault that Dan's just spotted while doing the InvisiFrame kit here, and this rear brake mount here. This hole isn't actually big enough to get a bolt through. There's a bit of carbon flash in there. We're gonna have to file away just to can't get a bolt through. All right, I hope you found this video interesting. If you'd like to know about a full ride review, that's sadly not gonna happen. This is being built for a customer who's brought this in for us. Maybe Giant will be watching this and send us one for a ride review. But in terms of a quality review, I'm very, very impressed. It's just a shame that their next tiers down, there is such a quantum drop in quality for the second tier down. And with that all said, Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.